Hey everybody, happy Thursday. It is April, I gotta check, 23rd. Hopefully your day is off to a great start and you're enjoying Thursday. We're trying to get back into the swing of things of the same day a week as we're hoping that we can start getting some normalcy in our life as we have this work from home culture. A lot of things going on to the news. We don't want to wait around. Got a great show for you set ahead, so I don't want to miss anything. To jump of the news right from the start, let's get that going for you so we can about what's going on in the wonderful world today. Again, I'm your host, Eric Mitchell. This is To The Point. So let's start with some news. Again, it's Thursday, so that means the unemployment report came out today. And for the fifth week in a row, millions of Americans applied for unemployment. First claim for unemployment. These aren't like the totals. Another 4.4 million this week after the week of April 18th. And that's after factoring in the seasonal laborers. So that adds to the number that was 22 total. So we start adding to this. We're getting close to 30 million unemployed Americans. The good news, though, we had some good news today. In his daily press conference, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said that the preliminary results, and this is kind of crazy, but this is good that we're starting to get this information in, is that the study that they did is that 21% of the people of New York tested had the virus in them. So that means 1 in 5 people had contact with the coronavirus over the last few months. That's crazy, right? Like, think about that. The first coronavirus deaths in the U.S. actually came earlier than thought. We talked about this yesterday on the show, how they came in, and we actually found out they came in January. Kind of bananas when you think about that, to just think that we actually had this a lot sooner than we were even made aware of. Also, more than 10, this is kind of crazy. I try to have good news, but the news isn't happy today. It gets better, I promise. More than 10,000 people have died in U.S. nursing care facilities, which that always brings me to like a rant. Like, I noticed that when it started to happen in Washington, and we didn't do anything to like prevent this. It's disturbing, and I know later on I have another story that kind of goes with the nursing home thing. Okay, these are our greatest generation ever. For most of us, they would be our grandparents, our great-grandparents. This isn't what you want to hear. I mean, 10,000. I mean, that's a lot of people. And I know everybody kind of rates that to 9/11, so that is more than the amount of people who died on 9/11. For those of you playing at home who want to be like, oh my God, it's 9/11. Then the good news is now hospitals are actually resuming doing elective surgeries and getting these procedures that had to be postponed because we had to get everybody to the front of the line for COVID-19 and make sure they were treated. So thank God we're doing that. In really is McDonald's. Good old McDonald's, right? They make billions of dollars. American made company here. They decided yesterday, they announced that they will give you thank you meals to first responders. Fitting that every Thursday on To The Point is veteran and first responder episode. I mean, come on, you can't beat that. So if you're a first responder, you get to go to McDonald's and probably not eat a meal. And I know my second guest today will be like, don't eat McDonald's. But hey, it's a free meal. You never know you're in a hurry. And on the sports side, 2 things in sports today. 1, the NFL draft starts today. We're excited. We have something to watch. The draft is really boring to watch. The best part is watching them boo Roger Goodell. That's why I watch. So they are expecting the Bengals will have the first pick unless they make a trade here in the next few hours. And they expect Joe Burrow from Louisiana State University is expected to be the first pick. The Miami Dolphins are expected to do a lot of work in this draft. They have over 12 picks. But today wouldn't be today if we didn't share what made it absolutely wonderful. And today, folks, is the 1-year anniversary for something that I was able to attend last year. So let's go to it. Today is the 1-year anniversary of the single greatest thing I've ever watched with my own 2 eyes. If you're a Portland Trailblazer fan or just a fan of sports, 1 year ago today, this happened.
Chance right here. Shot clock is off. Portland has a timeout. Lillard. A chance to send the Thunder home. Lillard, long-range 3, and it's good! At the buzzer! Damian Lillard! Are you kidding me?
Yes, 1 year ago today, Damian Lillard hit the. I have goosebumps because I was there. I was up in the upper corner of that arena with my wife, jumping up and down like an idiot. I was crying. I did. We cried. We high-fived people. I know we couldn't do that now. Social distancing wasn't allowed. Did you see all those people? That's called sporting events, folks. Remember those? 8 weeks ago, we were allowed to go to those. Those are things that we did together as a group, as Americans. A great time. I could tell. Seriously, goosebumps. That moment, I saw it today in my timeline, and I had to share it with you guys. So that took place. Now, today is our first episode on a Thursday where we are honoring our veterans and our first responders, as you guys have known, because I wouldn't be a good Marine if I didn't tell you every show that I'm a prior United States Marine, or once a Marine, always a Marine, but I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I had to have, when I made a new program, a lifestyle program, a daytime show, I wanted to make sure that America's heroes, our veterans and our first responders, got some recognition. So we put it together and we made every Thursday this. So we have a hell of a show. And I went and got my favorites. And I got my favorite veteran to go first because, well, my kid is a fan of hers and she's on like all the shows I watch. So you had to make her first. It makes sense. I mean, and she's in the Navy, so it's like the Marine Corps. See, you're going to notice the pattern here, like Department of the Navy and Marines kind of always will. You'll get the drift. You'll follow it as we continue going. This is how it goes. But we'll get into a topic as we go with our second guest. I have something about the VA in here I want to discuss, and maybe we'll talk with our first guest. But you may have seen our first guest. She's done some TV. I mean, she's done a lot. She is a Hill Vet 100 for, I think it's 2020 or 2019. They're always like a year behind. I'm a Hill Vet 2017, but I got it in 2018. So I'm going to guess that she's 2019, but it was technically honored in 2020. They delayed it because of COVID-19. But our first guest has been on a small show that you may recognize. Jennifer Marshall will be joining us shortly. But let's just take a look at the small show you might have seen her on if you have binge. I can speak English today, I promise you. If you've been binge watching, like all of us have, TV, you might have noticed our guest.
Hey guys, we're home. Hey guys, we're home. Guys? Hello? Max?
Why don't you tell us?
Because I don't know.
We can't find Maxine.
And our window's open.
I'm sorry, Susan.
It's okay, Neil.
Oh, there we go. I'm doing technology, and it's not good that I'm the one doing it. But our first is none other than Jennifer Marshall from the United States Navy. Welcome to the show, Jennifer.
Hi, Eric. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I hope you didn't mind the intro.
No, not at all.
I'll include that in the show today. And she's the executive producer, so I don't argue with my producer. Yes, my producer's 15, so.
You get them started early.
You do, absolutely, right? You know, because she cursed herself when they told me about their homeschooling, and I know you have kids in the home, so you'll understand. Lots of Zoom calls, which was funny. My 13-year-old, he's downstairs at lunch, and he's like, man, I feel my life is just a bunch of Zoom calls back to back. And we laughed because I was like, okay, now it's like adult life here. All four of us say the same thing about
That's our normal life.
It's our normal life. But my 15-year-old, she was like, we should start a show and we should do it. But then she's like, I only have like 30 minutes today. And then my son this morning, I was walking by his door and I heard he's like, all I have to do today is read for 20 minutes. That's my assignment. Read for 20 minutes and go outside. Okay, that's what I'm doing. So literally this homeschooling thing, I don't know. I think they're still figuring it out, but it seems pretty lax. I mean, everybody gets an A long as you show up. It's pass or fail, no grades. I mean, it's good. I mean,
we definitely pack our son's schedules. They have maybe an hour worth of homework, and we're like, nope, time to learn, time to read, time to explore.
I love it. So how have you guys been before we jump into interview stuff? I mean, how's everything good on?
It's been good. It's just it's difficult because when you live in a city, you're used to being around other people, and you're used to, everywhere you go is people. So to be sequestered in the house, it's kind of odd. But you know what? We're warm, we're safe, we're happy, we're fed. So we're fine.
Well, that is good. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, that's good. I'm glad. I want everybody safe. It's scary.
Yes.
This coronavirus, and I know we're both vets, so this isn't. I mean, we're used to adapt and overcome, and the planning for what we don't know, mass chaos while everyone else is around on fire. I always feel like Kevin Bacon from Animal House, right? Stay calm. Everything is fine.
We're
in my
also
house,
used
it felt
to
like
hurry up
everybody
and
else
wait.
was running around like the sky was falling.
Right. And we are experts at hurry up and wait. So it is what it is.
Oh, you want me to sit inside my house? Well, okay. I could find things to do. I always keep telling my kids, I was like, look, I was stationed in Okinawa. I had to do a deployment there when I was in the Corps. We had typhoons come and we got stuck in our room for days at a time where they would drop off MREs. And you guys think it's bad? We get to go to the grocery store and come back. We had MREs for like a week. That sucks.
Yeah. I was on a tiny little island my first 2.5 years with 40 military, 200 people. This was before Netflix and cell phones. So I'm good.
Oh, no, thank you. So let's jump into this. I had you on here. We teased, of course, the small show that you were on that, of course, no one has watched. I was saying earlier how Netflix is just crushing it and has become the new everything, right? I mean, I think more people are watching Netflix than ever before. But so you were in the Navy. So let's talk about what you did in the Navy, number one, and then how you got into acting. And you're doing more than that. Now you're a host of shows. I mean, I went and looked you up on IMDb just because, and I already knew most of the shows you were on because we'll like binge watch NCIS or one of these other, shows that the military's in. And we're like, you were even Hawaii Five-0. We watched a replay of that. And I was like, hey, I know her. It's weird when you see a show and you're like, I know her.
Isn't it? It's weird for me as an actor too.
It's like, hey, I know her. She's not just an actor. She was, and I always tell everybody, she was in the Navy, and everyone's like, we know, Dad. You're just because people like when Rudy Reyes showed up in a video game, I was all proud of myself. I'm like, hey, that's Rudy.
Right.
They're like, you're stupid. But anyway, so kind of tell everybody what you did in the Navy and go from there.
So I was in the Navy for 5 years. When I first went in, I worked on the tarmac with jets. Then I moved into aviation logistics. And then towards the end of my tour, I was on the Ship Security Defense Force team on the USS Theodore Roosevelt. And I was also the only female on the repair locker fire team. So I had a wonderful time in the Navy. I miss it. I miss it dearly. And then when I got out, I actually got out because I was sick from the anthrax shot. So I was very ill for about 2 years. And then after that, I was trying to kind of rebuild my life. And, a friend of mine had done a commercial, 1 day's work for $400. And at the time I thought that's so much, maybe I could just work a couple days because I still wasn't feeling so well. And that's how I got into acting. I took an acting class and then I booked my first job 2 weeks into the acting class.
Shoo, look at you. Well, you're just like, hey, $400. That's a lot of money.
That's what I thought at the time. I mean, national commercials.
That's how people thought about that $1,200 stimulus they just sent them. They're like, $1,200. I'm like, holy crap. Yeah. And they said they wanted that to last 8 weeks.
No, I'm not. That's just a ramen diet. Just ramen.
I'm like, what? We on college diet now? Like that when I was really poor with my boilerplate in the barracks with like mac and cheese and a can of peas. Hey, man.
Vienna sausages. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All that bad food that we ate But it's funny you mentioned the anthrax shot. I'll bring it up to you. I know also you work with pinup vets, and we're going to get into that. But there was a report that came out. The AP released a report this morning, and I want to discuss it with you. I love vets on so we could talk about it. Yeah. Because everybody always tells us how great the VA is. Everybody's like, oh, great. I don't know what you guys are complaining about. It's just
everybody who doesn't go to the VA.
Yeah, it's always the ones that are like, I mean, I hate to bash on the president, but I will on this one. Remember like 7 months ago, he stood up in front of all these veterans and everybody. The VA is great. They have great doctors. We're doing great. And I'm like, you've never been in a VA. You go to Bethesda and you're the president of the United States. Of course, you're treated like gold. Try being Lance Corporal Schmuckatelli, who just got out and he's got PTSD. And you're like, hey, you can come see us in like 6 months. We're cool. But they said, so 1,900 VA healthcare workers who became sick with coronavirus. So that's crazy, right? So you got to think of that. Another 3,600 of the 300,000 have been quarantined and unable to work because of that. You also have, I forget how many deaths there were. But you got to think about that. Here they are taking care of our nation's finest, our warriors, everybody. I mean, you spend some time in the VA with the pinup vets. And I thought it was weird that this is going on in our VA. But here's a quote. This is a quote from an actual VA person. We thought we were doing everything right, even reusing these N95 respirators, but we all still ended up getting sick. This is how we treat the folks that protect our freedom. Like, hey, just reuse this mask. You're cool.
It's a federal government. They have more money than anyone else. What's the problem here? They pay $300 for a toilet seat lid? Where's the PPE? And honestly, I just went through EMT school. I was in EMR in Colorado, and I just went through EMT school at UCLA. You don't reuse N95s. What is this? Not,
It's
I
a
mean,
whole new world, right?
many times you do whatever you have to do because we're low on PPE, but yeah, it's spreading. Are we wondering why it's spreading? What's the issue here?
But these are our veterans. That's kind of the where I'm going. And this is why I wanted to have, especially just have a veterans and first responders, just a full day, a full hour of our heroes, right? And that's flat out. I know we hate being called heroes, and we kind of cringe when someone thanks us for our service. It's just because we do it because we love our country. I mean, none of us are like forced to do it at gunpoint. And yesterday I made a snarky response because we had the great Matt Kuchera. I believe that you've been on Vet Pivot, so you're familiar with Matt. And I was kidding him because I asked him what he was a drill sergeant, and he says, no, we were military instructors. And I'm like, oh, sorry. I forgot the Air Force has a different title. But I mean, all kidding aside, I mean, the VA. So let's talk about what you do. I mean, besides being an incredible mother and wife, and you're on TV, but you also belong to a great organization. And you ladies go into the VA hospitals and you cheer up all of our vets. And I do want to talk about that because you're part of an amazing team that's all veterans. So anybody out there is like, oh, sexist and all this crap. No, these are all our veterans that are helping other veterans, and they're pinup vets from World War II are the coolest thing ever. I mean, my grandfather talked about them until he passed. I mean, these World War II guys love it. That's the greatest generation ever, right? So like, you guys are just honoring the greatest generation. So kind of talk about pinup vets and what you've been doing there and how people can find out more, because it's an amazing organization.
Thank you. So I'm an ambassador for the congressionally recognized award-winning nonprofit Pinups for Vets, and it is mainly female veterans. We have a few wives, we have a few civilian supporters who love the military, but we get together and we go visit veterans in hospitals and VAs and wounded warrior detachments. So it's really wonderful. And I do want to differentiate the care that people get at the VA, because when we go to the VA, we see the nurses and the nursing assistants and doctors and how they are with the vets in the hospital. And overwhelmingly, people care. It's just more of the bureaucracy that tends to weigh everything down and lead to a decline in patient care. So we go in and we sit with these veterans, and we've personally visited over 12,000 veterans at their bedside. And it is a wonderful, amazing organization. Besides the fact that we are visiting with veterans who may not have had a visitor, that day, that week, that month, we also have a strong camaraderie among the female veterans in the group. Those are some of my sisters, and I love them dearly.
I love your guys' group. I love watching what you guys are doing. It's fun to see. It's great. I know you guys were in the news a few months ago, which seems like forever ago, but it wasn't, when certain VAs in Southern California said you guys weren't allowed in. And I'm like, but they're veterans. How can veterans not visit veterans? You're putting a kibosh on it.
Yeah, it's happened a few times, but I think overwhelmingly, once we go into a VA, we've gotten letters from many VAs saying, you guys are classy, you're modest. I mean, we dress in dresses, yes, but it's colorful, it's modest. Oftentimes, civilian visitors show much more skin than we do. So it's definitely just about the aesthetic and not about showing skin. And once we are in the rooms and in the hospitals, they're happy to have us, and they have us come back.
See, and I've talked to a number of World War II guys who have run into, your group down in Southern California, and they're like, they're awesome. It's great. Some of them did mention that some of their friends that are at the VA hadn't ever had visitors. Their loved ones have passed on, and they're the last ones. They're in their 90s, and they stormed the beaches of Iwo Jima, and it made their day. And I think that's important. These old timers that are still around, and we're, as we go on and we all age, so do they, and we're going to start losing those folks, and it's just heartbreaking. It's good that you guys are doing that. So before we go, I know we have to jump to our next guest, but before we go, tell everybody how they could find you and any new projects you have coming up. I know folks, Stranger Things was one thing, but I know you were hosting a show because you and I were going back and forth about that. Tell folks how they can find you. Any shows you're watching, go ahead, pitch away at this. You're on TV, you're allowed to do that.
So I'll say for the nonprofit, visit pinupsforvets.com. There's a poster of me in the store for sale, and we also have a calendar that we use to fund our 50-state hospital tour. For me, you can find out more at jennifermarshall.com. I host a show on the CW called Mysteries Decoded, and that is available to stream for free on CW Seed, like a seed you bury in the ground, SEED.com. And if you go on IMDb, you'll see there's lots of reruns, NCIS, Hawaii Five-0. There's movies that I've done, A Dog's Way Home, Stuber, that are now streaming.
See, so I have to ask you, just because we were watching West Wing, and Mark Harmon, of course, he was in West Wing for like 3 episodes, and he's killed. I just ruined it. If you've never seen West Wing, well, you're old, and this is like.
Spoiler.
But right. So it's funny. I asked this question as the Marine because, as you know, Mark Harmon in NCIS is a former gunny in the Corps, right? And they all have seem to have prior military. Is it weird being prior military, being around actors who are trying to be prior military?
No, because Mark was so wonderful and Mark was so appreciative to have veterans on the set. And he was never, let me show you how this is or teach you. He was the consummate gentleman. And it was such a treat getting to work with him. And he's one of my favorite actors and people of all time.
Sweet. I just had to ask that just because we were sitting there, you're watching the West Week and I'm tearing the uniforms apart because they never do it right. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to ask Jennifer this question because I just wonder, because I've been around some SEALs. I went to the Vetties a couple years ago and I was with 2 SEALs, actually 3 SEALs who are really SEALs. And they were taking a picture with guys who play SEALs on TV. And I was laughing. I was like, this is weird. This is like a man that wants to be a SEAL. So I just had to ask you that question. But anyways,
well, Eric, you'll be happy as a former Marine to know that Mark does all of the Marine Corps noises the best. Yes. So he does all the noises.
The little ers that we do, no matter what, when we're being interviewed, we just
all those weird,
those guttural sounds that we just don't understand why we make them. We still make them in life. So just so everybody knows, I'm going to add all of the links that Jennifer just mentioned will be in our YouTube channel. They'll be below. So just if you're watching this post, just scroll down, and you'll be able to click everything. I encourage you to go buy that poster. And hey, you have nothing to do, so go binge watch a whole bunch of shows, and you're technically supporting a veteran doing it. And go check out your new show on the CW. I know I'm going to do that today. Thank you. Says I don't have a lot to do today, right? I'm like, hey, I'm just going to go binge watch a show.
I'll take it.
Woohoo! But thank you again for coming on, and I hope you have a great week. We'll have to have you on real soon.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks. Have a good one. Bye. So that's guest number 1, Jennifer Marshall. Go check those out. Those links will be in YouTube. So if you're looking for those, please just scroll down and you'll find them. So on to our next guest. It was weird trying to put the order of guests. I wanted to put the Marine first, but I put the Department of Navy first. I don't know why. But our next guest, I can't wait to bring on. She's a badass. I mean, not only is she, a fellow Marine, so that just makes her awesome, but she was a door gunner, a door freaking gunner. Like if you've ever watched Full Metal Jacket, I mean, a door gunner. I almost played that clip and I was like, I better not, because I'm probably going to trigger somebody's going to be like, oh, is that what she did? No. Well, maybe she did. I don't know. We'll ask. But our next guest is Lisa Bodenburg from the United States Marine Corps. Lisa, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
It's Thursday. People keep telling me. So I guess I'm good. They feel like the same day. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. So you were a door gunner in the Marine Corps. I mean, we already know the Marines are the best, but tell us what it was like. I mean, you've been deployed, obviously, correct?
Yes, I've been deployed a couple of times. I've been to Iraq twice and Afghanistan, and I'm actually still I'm in the reserves right now.
Well, thank you for your service. It means a lot. I'm an old timer that went in back in '94, so it means a lot to see you younger Marines up there kicking ass still. No shame in my game. That's awesome. Thank you for what you're doing, and everybody out there should be high-fiving you right now for what you and your team are doing. So, a door gunner. What made you pick that MOS? I mean, that's just like, I'm sorry, I'm an 03, and I think that's a badass, that's a cool job to have. I want that job. I want to be a door gunner.
That's such a compliment, especially coming from an 03, because we all know that, every Marine a rifleman. So the backbone of the Marine Corps right there. But I absolutely love my job. I was very, very grateful and very lucky to get this position. I walked into the recruiter's office as a 17-year-old and said, what's the most combative position I can have? Actually, the first thing I asked them was, sign me up. I want to be force recon. And they kind of laughed at me because I didn't actually realize that you can't be on the front lines as a female. Well, at least you couldn't, many years ago back then. So I was actually so angry that I walked out of the recruiter's office. And then I settled down and I went back, and that's when I said, what's the most combative position I can have as a female? So they kind of did some digging and some research because nobody had ever asked them that before. And that's when the recruiters came up with a door gunner. And so we began. So I went through several tests and struggles to try to get all the way to the fleet to be a door gunner on Hueys, because there was a lot of people that didn't want me there and really just didn't think that I had what it takes. So it was a long road, but I'm very, very grateful. And it's been an amazing experience since.
See, that's awesome. See, yesterday we had the Marine rapper on. He's a combat vet, did 3 tours, and he was talking about the same thing about people, it's a downfall of a lot of people is everybody like wants to hate. And, it's to me as an 03, I mean, number one, there's not a bad job in the Marine Corps. I mean, that's just my opinion. I think once you earn our title, it doesn't really matter what you do. And especially working in the media, I can tell folks when I'm talking to the media and I'm pitching, nobody asks what you do in the Marine Corps. I mean, it's cool if I sexify it up when I'm like, she was a door gunner, or he was a recon Marine when we're talking, different. So it's fun to, but at the end of the day, people hear Marine. It's like saying Navy SEAL, but we don't write books. We actually do things for a living. Or movies. So, sorry, Navy. The SEALs are out there like, we hate you. And I'm like, I know. It's okay. At least I spelled it right. And I used all capitalization like they require. So now you're out inspiring. So I want to talk about mental health. I know it's a key to all of us vets that are out there. And now people in the real world are now seeing what it's like. I mean, this is a mental beatdown, being stuck in your home, not allowed to go out and do the simple things. And I wanted to jump in and talk about mental health. I know that. So talk about how you got into talking about mental health and fitness. Your eating habits. I see on social media what you're eating, and I'm like, if I tried to eat that, I don't know if I could. It's a lot of kale. I mean, I try. I do my best. I have my protein shakes, and I try to eat good. I mean, I've lost 50 pounds, so damn it, it's kind of working. But talk to us about your background and how you got into that, and then let's jump into the mental health side of the house.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was forced to quickly get out of the Marine Corps because of some injuries and just kind of the way that life happens, and so you have to learn how to bend and hopefully not break. And that's kind of the point that I arrived at. I was out of the Marine Corps, and I wasn't sure really what to do or where to go. And I was really struggling. I hit a point where I was struggling with depression for so long. I just didn't know what to do. I remember looking myself in the mirror and just saying, the one thing that I can control is the fact that I can go to the gym, and that I know that if I go to the gym, there's a physiological effect between my brain and my body that when I go to the gym, I know I'm going to feel better. So even though I didn't want to go to the gym, even though I didn't have the energy, I just looked myself in the mirror and I said, you're going to do a competition. And what I meant by that was a bodybuilding competition. And I was nowhere near prepared to compete in a bodybuilding show at this time in my life. But I just put that goal out there and I just continued to go for it. And so every day I went to the gym, and even if it was only 10 minutes, I still went. And it slowly helped me to feel better and to look better. And then I gained my confidence back. And the next thing you know, I'm on stage and I'm competing in an actual bodybuilding competition. So I used that, and I didn't want others, I still don't want others to have to go all the way down that rabbit hole that I ended up going down. So I use my experience to help them and to help others wherever they're at, come out from that depression, come away from that, and just use the tools that they have right now to not suffer the way that I suffered. I struggled with depression for so long that I actually, I experienced, a suicide attempt. And I'm very, very grateful to be here today. And I just don't want others to have to go through that pain that I once went through. And fitness truly saved my life. So that's what led me into my passion right now. And I'm currently a fitness and nutrition coach. And I use motivation and inspiration as a tool to help others realize that you can have a better life than what you're experiencing. And a lot of people, a lot of leaders especially, I know in my own shoes, I was especially afraid to come forward and to talk about the issues that I was struggling with, which only made that worse for me. Because I was afraid that as a leader and as a Marine, too many people looked up to me. And if I come out with this, it's going to appear like a weakness. When in reality, our weakness and our vulnerability is actually a strength. It's not a weakness at all. So I helped encourage other people right now to see that and to recognize that it's okay to ask for help and to get the help you need. And you really do have the tools available right now, especially during this pandemic. It's really important right now to focus not only on our physical health, but our mental health as well. 1 in 5 Americans struggle from a mental health disorder at some point in their life, and over 47,000 Americans commit suicide every year. So it's preventable, and there's no reason to stay silent about it. And there's so many tools at your fingertips that you don't have to suffer in silence, and you don't have to suffer at all. So that's really what my drive is and what my passion is, and just helping others connect the dots between their mental and their physical health, and the importance of how they can do that, especially right now during this pandemic. It's crazy times right now, and I just want people to know that they have resources for them.
That was deep. I love that. Great. Thank you for sharing that. I think this is why I started Thursdays being what they are. It's not just fluff and all this. It's us sharing our stories so people understand that when you're talking and hearing about what's going on in the veteran community, when you see these politicians that are out there talking about thanking us for our service and all this other hogwash, that they really don't care. And this isn't just one administration, it's several, where they say they're going to fix the VA and do these things. And mental health seems to take the back seat when it comes to the veteran community. And even in the American persona, I mean, people made fun of Kevin Love from the NBA for talking about his disorders that he had when it came to mental health and depression. So it's good that, I think it's amazing that, especially the veteran community, we're open about it. We have no shame in our game. But before you go, before we kind of wrap up and move to our next guest, I do want to cover, because I loved it and I've been using it since you and I had our chat offline, the Marine mindset. Tell folks what's that mean and kind of dig into that, because I love that term. Because I always go around going, adapt and overcome, adapt and overcome. I mean, I heard my wife yesterday. She said 2 things on a phone call that always makes me laugh. The first was a couple years ago. She started saying, "Whose boot is that?" Which made me laugh, because hearing my wife say that to somebody at the PTA was pretty funny. And she was standing in line when somebody was screwing something up. She's like, "Whose boot is that?" And I'm like, "Use properly." That's awesome. Unfortunately, nobody knew what she was saying. And then yesterday, I heard her on a Zoom call going, adapt and overcome. That's what we have to do. We have to adapt and overcome. And I'm like, I'm rubbing off. So Marine mindset, let's jump into that. The listeners out there, there's a lot of vets, but a lot of in the regular community. What is the Marine Corps mindset to you?
Absolutely. So the Marine Corps mindset to me is exactly what you said. It's adapt and overcome. When you see a wall in front of you and you feel like you have to get to the other side and there's no door, well, break down the wall, make a door, create a path where there isn't one. Instead of always talking about reasons why you can't do something, create solutions on how you can. And that's no different in your job or in your personal life or right now in this, during this pandemic. And having that Marine mindset is the ability to know that you can truly do anything you put your minds to. And the best way that I do that, because I'm consistently evolving and I have my own struggles as well. Now that I'm not struggling with depression and suicide anymore, that doesn't mean that every day there aren't its own struggles and its own battles. And you really can't compare. You can't say that one is greater than the other, no matter who you're talking to, because everyone is looking at their own struggles differently and everyone handles things differently. But having that Marine mindset where you are absolutely positively going to find the solution and you're going to do everything that it takes. Once you make your mind up and you understand that you can truly do anything that you put your mind to, the world is limitless. And I use my Marine routine. It's my morning routine where it takes maybe 10 minutes every morning and it sets me up for success every single day. So on those days that I'm struggling or I don't know where to start or what to do, I go back to the routine that I've created. I have it written out. It's a step-by-step plan that takes, like I said, no more than 10 minutes to add it to my day. And it sets me up for success every single day because I need that reminder as well. And I know a lot of people who do, especially right now. So just being certain of the fact that you can truly do anything you put your mind to. And even when you are faced with the most impossible situation, knowing that deep down inside you can figure it out and you can do it.
I love it. Perfect. So as we close out here and bring on our next guest, and by the way, anybody who's in another branch, you can insert your mindset into their Army mindset. This isn't saying that ours is the dominant one. I mean, it is the best and the oldest, but and proven. But other branches, I mean, the Army, I know my next guest in the Army, and I know I'm going to get crap for this, but I could bash on the Air Force because that's fine. And Coast Guard, I don't even know if they have a mindset. This is called waking up. But thank you for coming on. So tell folks how they could get a hold of you if they'd like to talk to you about your coaching, just get a hold of you for inspiration. I know that you have an amazing group. They've been reaching out to our team to come on as guests. Tell folks how they could get in contact with you. Plug away. This is your time.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. The quickest way to get in touch with me is on Instagram, Lisa Bodenburg. If you can't see how to spell my name there, but if you're not remembering it, just also search Lisa Liberty and I pop up. Facebook as well, Lisa Bodenburg. And if you want to check out that marine routine that I was just talking about, it's free. You can go to libertybellfitness.com and just plug in your email address, and it's a free download. And I have received the most amazing feedback from it. So if it's something that you need more energy, productivity, just another step in your day to set yourself up for success and you don't know where to begin, libertybellfitness.com, and you can download that free routine that I was talking about.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming on. We're going to have you back on again very soon. You are you're inspiring, you're empowering. I love it. It's great to see another Marine just out there kicking ass and taking names. It's good that we take care of our community. We share our stories. We wear our hearts on our sleeve, and I think that's a great thing about our community. You are another one of those amazing veterans that believes that service never ends. And I absolutely love that about our community. It's not an age thing with us. We take care of each other, our brothers and sisters to our left and our right. So I thank you so much. Can't wait to have you on the show again.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you real soon. Thanks. I love that I make noises in between guests. Like they're just leaving. It's my pew pew. So our next guest is coming on, and he's from the I think he's still in the reserves. He'll nod his head and tell me if he is or isn't when I bring him on. He is. He's nodding. I see him in the green room. Like, yes, I am. Still in the reserve. Amazing Army guy, soldier, troop. I got to get the right name. Soldier. They're soldiers. We're troops, Marines, whatever. Don't screw that up. Don't ever call Marine a soldier, by the way. We really don't like it. It kind of offends us a lot. So we're going to bring on my next guest, Rod Rodriguez. He's going to come on. He has an amazing podcast. I know I say that about all the podcasters that come on here, but truly you should be listening to all these podcasts. They're good. I don't listen to crap podcasts. I will say this right here before we bring on our guest, because people have asked, oh, you say every podcast is good. No. Let's be clear. There's good podcasts and there's crap podcasts. I don't listen to crap podcasts. I don't put crap podcasts on this show. I put the best of the best on because they're going to help you. So Rod does a couple different things. Number one, he produces and is part of an amazing podcast, works with connecting vets. And also he has a company that can help you. If you're trying to get a podcast started, he can help you guide your way there. So without further ado, I'm going to bring my good bud, Rod Rodriguez, onto the show. Rod.
To the point with Eric Mitchell. Wow.
I know we do that every once in a while. We try. And we don't rant that much, which is odd. I want to.
You need more rants for sure. By the way, calling a Marine a soldier, one of my favorite pastimes. I really love living in Virginia, so close to all of these Quantico. Especially when you're smiling. Excuse me, soldier, I have a question.
Oh, I see. This is why the Marine Corps and Army just loves each other. It is fun. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I've actually done that to a Marine just because, especially if I see a butter bar. And I love officers, don't get me wrong. But sometimes it's fun when I was out. When we used to go to this thing called the mall. I don't know if you remember the mall.
Is that before the sick days?
Yeah, the sick days.
Yes. The sick days. Yes. I remember these times.
Where everybody in America needed to be home, despite if they were sick or not. That's a whole different show.
Well, that's the 4 o'clock. We're good.
4 o'clock. That's the show they don't want me to do. That's the one where everyone, my publicist, is like, "Don't you talk about that? No politics." So,
well, we're living in a world right now where now that we've done this isolation thing, we've all been inside our houses. You talked a little bit about podcasts a little bit before I came on. Podcast, what we're doing right here on social media. This is the new platform to talk about all those things, whether it's political, non-political, doesn't really matter. what we're finding is our entire lives are actually connected into the world of politics, which is great because for so long, we've sat on the sidelines. The American voter has sat on the sidelines and voted as if it were happening to them, not to me, to those guys, to thems. But now we're realizing there is no them. It's us. The guys that the men and women that we voted into office are making decisions that affect our lives, not them, us. And that's a real important point to understand about where we stand now as American voters, as citizens, and as consumers of media.
Oh, you're hitting the nail on the head. I mean, I've been one of the greatest things, and right before I was on my own show, I was on one of my favorites, Liquid Lunch, which is normally on Newsmax. But John had to move his team. John Tobacco's the host. John had to move out of his studio in NYC. Newsmax, like so many others, took variety TV that doesn't cover round the clock, just bashing on politics, took those shows off there. So John's show, Wayne Allen Root, and others on other networks we've seen taken off the air. Even on Fox has done it, and now they're online. And I love being able to go to Facebook or especially YouTube. I'm just jonesing on the platform YouTube has built to go on and watch shows like mine and support those folks because you're seeing these folks out there doing it. I watched this one, and I'm going to plug it because I'm an NBA fan, but Rasheed Wallace and Bonzi Wells have an amazing show called Let's Get Technical, which is ironic because Rasheed Wallace, for like almost every season he played in the NBA, led the league in technicals. So it's a great show, and it's funny, and they're on there, and they're just like two dudes, right? They're not Hall of Famers by any means. I mean, they're just great basketball players. And it's been fun watching them. But do you think that they would have produced this at any other time? No, they were sitting at their house bored. And they're like, hey, let's start a podcast and then do a bunch of Instagram lives. Sounds like a great idea. Will people tune in? Well, they had like 10,000 the other night when they were doing it right after Last Dance was on. So it's crazy.
Podcasting, and this is my main passion is audio, telling stories, and really a good podcast, like you said, there's a lot of crap podcasts out there. A good podcast tells a story, and it tells a story that's relevant to you and to the people that you think are going to listen. It's not a crapshoot. It shouldn't be a scatter shot. I know a lot of podcasts do that, but one of the things I'm very proud of is I work with Stars and Stripes. So they are a famous newspaper company and media company, and they've jumped into the world of podcasting. We do a show called Military Matters. And one of the cool things about doing a podcast for Stars and Stripes is we get to be on the front lines of news, on the front lines of what matters. So we were talking about the coronavirus before a lot of people were, before it really hit the mainstream. I had a New Jersey doctor, and I'll tell you, when I started understanding the coronavirus, I was very skeptical about it. But when I did this podcast as a journalist, I got to sit down with an ER doctor, Dr. Kamal Khalsi, who was on the front lines in New Jersey fighting the coronavirus. I got to talk to the author of the World War Z, and I've talked to the BioShield, the bipartisan commission on biodefense for the country. Blew my mind. Yeah. These are people that were back in February, January, trying to warn the country, hey, this is coming. There's no stopping it. It's coming. Get ready. And nobody listened.
Thank you, America. We don't want to listen. I mean, and let's talk about it we're bringing on John Larocchia is going to come on next, and he is former Hazmat One with New York Fire Department. Amazing. Just love those guys. But I was just reading a VA report that the AP just released talking about how bad the conditions are at our VA hospitals. Again, shocking. Veterans are the last people. The VA is, again, ignored. But they said that these doctors, and I read a quote, they are reusing N95 masks. Like, here we are again, right? PTSD goes ignored. 22 veterans, and that number, Wes O'Donnell, who's going to be on the show in a couple of weeks, has said that number is truthfully really wrong, and it's wrong in a southerly manner, not in a northerly manner. Right. The number's closer to 40. I don't even want to know what it is now going through these 8 weeks of shelter in place, which, by the way, shelter in place is what we used to say in law enforcement to keep you inside your house, to keep you safe. Now we're doing it, I don't know. Hey, stay in your house. You could go to the grocery store, though. You're cool. And you go get takeout food, but shelter anyways. But again, they dropped the ball on PTSD and veteran suicide. And now we've got guys trapped in a hospital. They're coming home. They are recovering from injuries. We have our wounded in there. And we're making our medical staff taking care of America's greatest with reuse the mask. That doesn't make sense to me.
First of all, the VA. I have the privilege of working with an amazing online group called Connecting Vets. And this is the thing about media. We often neglect to pay attention to the things that matter. And staying on top of your news is important. Now, whether it leans left or right, that's another discussion to have, but you got to stay informed. I'm very privileged and very honored to work with connectingvets.com. They have some of the best reporters who are covering the VA, and they talk about the stories that you're probably ignoring, like what Congress is doing with these VA budgets, all these little things that are happening inside this huge organization. They're covering it on a daily basis. So highly encourage folks to go to connectingvets.com, check out their VA coverage. But the fact of the matter is, we're doing the VA. I'm not going to bash the VA because it's a ridiculously large organization. It's a huge organization tasked with an impossible task, and that is taking care of millions of veterans. On top of that, they are charged with being part of the pandemic response team. So they're one of, I think, 3 or 4 organizations who are responsible for responding to this thing. So look, it's a government organization, and anybody who's paid taxes understands that government organizations are rife with red tape. It's a challenge to make it work. So I'm not going to beat them up too much, but yes, reusing N95 masks for sure the wrong thing to do. But like Jennifer said earlier, when you don't have much of a choice, you got to work with what you've got when you've got it. So adapt and overcome. I think that they're trying to do that, but the question really is, why should they have to adapt to silliness and overcome silliness?
Right? Overcome. So, but I mean, that's something that's gone on. We could go on the VA topic, and I don't want to go too long on our schedule today, but totally. But we're going to have you back on very soon so we can deep dive into this. I mean, obviously the VA is a pain point. I totally see your point. You're more on the front lines with it, with Connecting Vets. But before we let you go, just like I did with everyone else, please go ahead, plug away. Make sure you tell folks how they can reach out to you. Please plug your podcast, especially with Stars and Stripes. Gotta love them. They've been around, I think, longer than all the rest of us have. I mean, talk about a publication that ages everyone. I think goes back. I was looking up the numbers on it just out of curiosity, and it goes back to like the 1800s or something crazy like that. I mean, they've been writing about war for a long, long time. And you're doing great. I do want to tell you before we move on, and guests, seriously, people watching and listening understand what Rod and his team have been doing. They're updating America's finest. To me, our frontline warriors listen to these podcasts, Stars and Stripes. Your podcast, you guys are straight to the point. I like that. And you don't sugarcoat anything, and you're educating, because you can listen to the left and the right, and they're just going to feed you BS. They're going to feed you some sponsored crap, and they're not going to look out. And you guys look out for, hey, to me, our warrior class, the frontline folks who are actually on a front line that has somebody on the other side that wants to kill them. So it's important, and I thank you. So plug away, tell people how they can find you and listen to your podcast and doing all that good, fun, plugging away stuff.
Sure. So thanks again for bringing me on the show. Talk to the point with Eric Mitchell. Love it. You can check us out at stripes.com. We are the Military Matters podcast. We have several different, we're covering a gamut of everything that matters to the military. And you can find us on Twitter at StripesMMPod, at StripesMMPod. Always trying to find new stories, new ideas. So if you have an idea that you want us to cover, we're more than happy to do that. And also work with connectingvets.com. Next week, we are releasing a brand new show called Vet Story. I'm really excited about it. I promise this is unlike any other podcast with veterans you've heard. Vet Story. Come check it out. We are at connectingvets.com, an amazing news source. And you can always reach out to me personally on Twitter at RodPodRod. That's me. Thanks again, Eric. Thanks again.
I love it. Thanks, man. Thank you for coming on. We'll have you on a real good again soon. Thank you so much. Have yourself a great Thursday and enjoy your weekend. Thanks,
You
bud.
too, Eric. Thanks.
And now our final guest. They saved the best for laughs. I'm using the word laughter and last in the same sentence. I'm talking too much. That's the problem. So our next guest, to me, as everyone knows, when I left the Marine Corps, I went into law enforcement. If I wasn't going to be in law enforcement, I would have been a firefighter. And I know firefighters probably cringe when they hear someone say it, like I do as a Marine, saying when somebody came up to me and said I was going to be a Marine, but I went the law enforcement way. But I have nothing but the utmost respect for our first responders. It's part of why we do this show every Thursday, honoring our veterans and our first responders. I'm honored to have this guest on our show. John Larocchia is he was part of Hazmat One. Was an amazing New York firefighter. Just those guys, amazing. My heart always goes back to that day on 9/11, where those guys, to me, were the heroes of the day, charging in when everybody else, that Marine Corps in me, that Marine just jumps out. They charge into the building like we charge up the hill. And it takes a special mind. I think that's why first responders and veterans are so wired alike. We go through the same things. John has an amazing organization that he's part of. I watched it 2 weeks ago. They did this just online marathon of comedians. I laughed really hard at some just really bad jokes, but it was a great time. So without further ado, John Larocchia.
Hey,
how are you?
Thanks for having me down my dirty basement here. Everybody has this beautiful backgrounds. And I was thinking, I'm not going to get on anyway. You have all these military and heroes and Jennifer and Lisa and Rod. And I'm like, I'm getting bumped. Like the old Johnny Carson show. I'm getting bumped on this show.
Hell no.
So I was enjoying it and really good stuff. Really, really good stuff.
There was no way I was going to bump you, my friend. You can, Butch, I'm sure we'll share with you. I've been really excited about having you on.
You're the one. I
love my first responders. Love you guys.
I've been isolated in my basement now for 3 weeks. Did he tell you that?
No, why?
I have no idea. My wife and my daughter told me to go down here 3 weeks ago. They've been throwing chicken cutlets down the stairs. They put soup on the stairs that rolled down like a slinky. So I've been down here for a while. So it's nice.
You're just hanging out downstairs now?
I got a bathroom. I have a bathroom, so I'm happy.
It's like a man cave.
Yeah. You were talking, we did that marathon of a mess of a telethon. We had a ball. I talked for 5 hours. I haven't been able to talk to anybody for a while sitting down here. So it was fun. And it was all about the N95s. I mean, I was in hazmat for 11 years, and I always had the right equipment. Every run that I went on, every call that I went on, I felt like New York City gave me the right equipment and I was protected. And I'm talking to these firemen, EMS, nurses, and they're wearing the same N95 in emergency rooms the whole day, 2 days. So we went out and we purchased 4,000 of them. They're in the United States now, and we should be able to start divvying them out by next week. So that's pretty exciting.
That's awesome. I did read a report, or not a report, it actually came from Governor Cuomo today. He said that over 21% of New Yorkers were exposed to or had the coronavirus, were around I don't know, it's so confusing. You either had it, I don't know. I
don't understand it either. All I know is that I was a member of the FDNY hazmat team, and I went to Stop and Shop the other day and wore more equipment to shop for my eggs than I did at half of my runs with the FDNY. I mean, it's crazy out there. It's crazy.
I've seen mothers arrested. I saw in Colorado, there was a mother arrested on a playground with her daughter.
Yeah. Well,
they took away cups.
That might have been a little, but people just have to be smart. Yeah. Just be smart out there. Keep your distance. A friend of mine does a joke by he had an order of protection, so 6 feet is no problem to him, and he's used to like 100 yards. But I stole that joke from Frank Fiella. So if you saw this, I'm not stealing it. I'm giving you credit. It's crazy out there, really crazy. The VA hospital shows, though, we do. I was not in the military. My dad was. My dad was between World War II and Korea, and he tells us the same stories over and over again. The same stories. But I have a special place in my heart for the military. They leave their families. You guys left your families and went to a foreign land to fight for us. So we do these shows at the veterans hospitals. There are some World War II vets there. And we do the shows and we bring fruit. They like the fruit more than the show. They'll fall asleep. Whatever, it doesn't matter. They always say to me, John, thanks for not forgetting us. And that's what's killing me right now. We can't get into that hospital, and these guys are stuck in a room. And, the hospital at St. Albans in Queens is from the 1950s. I wish they had a beautiful theater in that hospital for those guys to go down to. We could do the shows, but they don't. So we do what we can, we do what we can.
It's heartbreaking. I mean, and you saw that we had Jennifer Marshall on, and she's part of the pinup vets that goes into the VAs also. And I know that they're struggling with the same thing. I mean, both your guys' organizations are awesome. I want
to talk to her because we want to expand our program. So maybe we can, work something out where she can introduce me to some of her contacts and
I'll make that connection happen. We'll make the.
All righty.
All right, I got you.
Yes.
So let's talk about Laughter Saves Lives.
Yes.
I mean, like I said, I watched the telethon. That Australian comedian was hilarious.
I don't like to push the charity. I don't like to mention it much. Laughter Saves Lives. But if you see, this is, by the way, these are the 19 guys we lost on 9/11 in my company on the back of my shirt. And everything is done in memory of my guys. Not only these guys. All are the firefighters who were lost on 9/11 and because of 9/11, who are still being lost and sick. So after 9/11, I didn't start to feel normal. Lost 19 guys at my firehouse. Other than the military, where do you have a job where you could come into work and a third of the people you work with are gone? So I didn't experience the military, but I experienced that. And how do you deal with that? Well, you don't. You really don't. But I remember laughing once. Maybe it was 4 months after 9/11, and the first thought you have is, ooh, that we shouldn't be doing that, And then the next feeling you have is, that felt good. So at one point after that, I said, what a great way to remember my guys who made me laugh so hard. I mean, people would come in the firehouse and go, you're the comic? These guys are so much funnier than you. And I would steal their material and use it on stage and get paid. But that's another story. So I said, what a great way to remember them by making people laugh in their name and raising money for cool charities in their name, and then putting some in the Laughter Saves Lives Foundation. And we normally use that money to help cops, firemen, military who are struggling due to a tragedy, who are not in the spotlight. We're expanding our mission statement now. We're going to include healthcare professionals, because not only were they always our heroes, but man, people are really realizing what character these nurses, doctors, maintenance people in the hospital, x-ray technicians have. So we're going to expand it, and we're putting together a tour, Laughter Saves Lives Responders Tour, and healthcare professionals, where the comics are all going to be from responders, and we're going to raise some money for cool charities, and we want to bring it into theaters and stuff like that. So that's what we're doing.
I love that. I mean,
I didn't see you anymore. I thought you fell asleep or went to get a sandwich. You disappeared on me.
I would never do that to you.
Okay.
I gave you the screen. I wanted you to plug
is that
away.
what it was?
I just wanted to make sure, but no, Laughter Saves Lives. We actually added it and decided moving forward on Thursdays, just until, we'll probably go between you guys and Pinup Vets as the two organizations that we want to support, but we are showing it as we promote the show every Thursday.
Oh, wow,
we want folks to know that they can donate to Laughter Saves Lives, because you guys do cover everything that means something to me and my family. I know we go to New York once a month, or we were going to New York once a month before COVID. And we stay down in Soho and walking. I've walked all the way down. I've done the Joe Biscopo show a few times. And as you know, that takes you right down by the Trade Center.
Yes.
And going by those firehouses, I know every time I go by, I thank those guys. And you see that loss of life, and to talk to someone who, again, as a Marine, I can relate to losing everybody, but no one else can. And again, just heartbreaking. Those guys, to me, those guys and gals are just amazing. And now we have these amazing folks on the front line doing a longer term, what I'm calling like a long. Everybody compares everything to 9/11, which bugs me.
Yeah.
Nobody ever was bugging like, hey, December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day. Yeah, we lost a lot of people that day, but you don't ever compare it to Pearl Harbor. And I'm like, why is everything ever compared to 9/11?
It's so recent. It's the most recent. Yeah. I think about that too with Pearl Harbor, and people are down on 9/11 on the memorial taking pictures. And I go down, I'm standing there, and I get a little upset, and then I go, they're probably doing this down in Pearl Harbor. People are taking pictures or whatever. They don't mean to disrespect most people, So, yeah, Yeah,
that is true. I mean, I agree with you there. I mean, I was promoted on the Arizona when I was in the Marine Corps because I was stationed in Hawaii, and it always was weird to see people go there. And I don't have any photos of anything from there because we never took any photos. And when we've been to that memorial, number one, it's intense to go to. It's extremely hard to. I mean, not a dry eye in the room. I mean, I almost started crying when you were showing your T-shirt. Okay, I'm emotional, and I wasn't even there that day. But it means a lot to me. Those names, those people, those are heroes, and that's what this show is about. It's what your organization is about, and I want people to support that. That's why we have this show. You are equal to these other 3 warriors we had on today.
Now, thank you for that. And I'll tell you a quick story. Do I have time? Go
ahead, man. Show is yours.
The story's 25 minutes long. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. We'll go. It's my show, so we can do whatever we want. See, my name's on it. I make the calls.
You say you're included with those heroes. I don't feel that way, but thank you. But when my Uncle Joe died, it was about a year after 9/11, and this is in the screenplay. Time to Laugh Again. We're working on. My Uncle Joe was a military guy. I apologize. I don't remember what branch. I think it was the Army, and we were at the cemetery. So before the cemetery, my dad and this guy that Joe was in the military with came up to us, and he said, "Listen, you're going to give Joe a military send-off. I guess they give, I don't know how many with the rifles, how many shots they give. I'm sorry." But he said, "We're going to give Joe a send-off tomorrow." And my dad said, "Hey, listen, can my son join us at the gravesite? This was after 9/11. He's a New York City firefighter." And I immediately stopped my dad. I said, "Dad, I don't belong with you guys." I said, "You guys left your families. You went overseas. No, I don't feel comfortable with that." And this guy was really, and he grabbed me and he said, "Son," he said, "you a New York City fireman?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "You're going to stand next to your father and give your uncle a send-off." And it was the only time in my life that I got to stand next to my dad and be one of them for that short time. The 4 or 5 guys that were there. And it's one of the highlights of my life.
Well, I like that story. I mean, but you got to take it from our angle, right? As someone who served. And I know we all look at first responders. You guys do the same thing we do. Yes, we deploy and have people who want to kill us. They really don't like us for some reason. And but hey, we're really good at what we're doing. The Marine Corps, huh? We have an amazing track record of kicking ass. We're kind of proud of it.
Yes, you do.
We're proud of it. But I mean, we look at first responders, firefighters, police officers the same way. You guys raise your hand and take an oath, and you risk your lives when you go out. I mean, we could talk about that. It's not just 9/11 that you lose firefighters. You guys know that. I mean, it's part of the risk of the job, just like ours. Our oath states that we will give our life for our country. I don't know the firefighter oath very well or at all. I know you guys have an oath. Everybody has one.
Part of the oath is a good lunch.
Okay, good. As long as you're fed well. I know you guys eat good. I am envious. I think that's the different people go, "What's the difference between first responders and the veterans?" And I said, well, as a Marine, I could tell you firefighters eat hella better than we do. So much better. Like, they give us crap food, and you guys go to, like, you're in there with your cool little fire truck.
We're stirring with the axe. We
guys eat good.
Good meals.
And you make really good TV shows. You got Dennis Leary, who's confused. He's in New York, but he's a Boston Red Sox fan. I mean, so.
He's done a lot for firefighters. And you know why Dennis Leary has done a lot for firefighters? Do you know why?
Why?
His cousin was one of the firefighters that died in the famous Massachusetts fire.
And then Steve. So is it true? Let me ask you why I have you here. You're a firefighter, so I get that. So is it true Steve Buscemi was a firefighter?
Yes, he was a firefighter for 5 years in Manhattan.
Nice.
And you probably heard the story, but on 9/11, he threw on his old equipment and went down there and didn't tell anybody. He just went down and was digging right next to the guys. Didn't tell anybody. I mean, guys ultimately recognized him. Just like when I'm walking down the street, sometimes guys, "Hey, you're that famous." No, it never happens. Hey, one time in Manhattan, though, I performed at the comic strip. I passed. It was a big deal for me, right? And the next day, I'm walking down the street and I'm strutting, feeling good. And somebody comes up to me and goes, "Hey, I know you." And I go, in my head, I'm going, "Of course you know me. I'm the comic." And he goes, "You were in a fire in the lobby of my building yesterday." And I'm like, "Oh, all right. All right."
Either I'm funny or I'm saving your life, one of the two.
Nobody else had big fingers like this today, right? Everybody kept their. I'm Italian, so you're. Hey.
But we all do knife hand. We're all military, so we do the knife hand.
You do the knife hand?
I mean, I'm
Italian, so I do this hand. Hey.
I mean, Lisa doesn't have to. She's like built like a truck, and she's a door gunner on a Huey.
Well,
I mean,
I was going to say as a fundraiser before I saw who's on the show, maybe I'll box anybody on the show And then I said, "Oh no, that's not a good idea."
I would. No, and even Rod, who was on right before you, he does MMA.
True.
So they're
I
all
wouldn't
like,
beat anybody. I wouldn't beat anybody. But
good,
I'd raise some money.
yeah, you would. I mean, I'll connect you with all of them. Absolutely, I know all of them would be.
I pass. But you know how I can make some money? I could advertise like that famous story on the bottom of my shoes. Get it? So when I box, I'm going to be laying on the ground, knocked out, but it'll say Joe's Italian restaurant. You know.
There you go. Hey, it works. Let's do it. We'll put Laughter Saves Lives on there. Just plug that away. Okay. So we got to get going. Unfortunately, we need to have you back on. This has been entertaining, and God bless you, man. I mean, you are just as the other. Just 4 amazing guests today. For me, I'm honored to have all 4 of you on the show.
Let's say 3.5. 3.5.
No, 4, man. No. No. This is a veteran and first responder show. Everybody's equal in my eyes. You take an oath and you step forward. You guys do an amazing job. Those brothers that you lost on that fateful day, the folks that still raise the axe today and are out there protecting people. Now we can add these doctors, these nurses, the maintenance people, all those folks in hospitals, especially in the tri-state area and any other hot spots in our country that are keeping folks alive and doing a job where they're not prepared. They're not given the tools to do the job right. Yeah. Being a Marine, I kind of understand that because we're always given secondhand stuff. So it's kind of normal for the Marine Corps. But these N95 masks, to see what you guys were raising and the fact that our first responders, these paramedics, these EMTs are going to people's houses.
Nurses in the ER. She's telling me we use this. I'm like, oh my God. And we couldn't buy enough to help everybody, but we'll do our thing.
Well, we got to get the government to step up, and they seem to have all this money, so make them.
That's what made me laugh. I'm going, how am I able to buy them, but the United States can't buy them? How does Johnny from Laughter Saves Lives buy 4,000 masks, right? But the hospital's going, we can't find them. They're not. I just bought them.
Right? It's funny how they can't do it. Hey, but they can find $1 trillion though. So, anyways, it's been great having you on, John. Tell folks before you go. Plug away, tell folks how to get a hold of you and support your organization.
Simply go to LaughterSavesLives.org. You'll see the shows we have coming up, any fundraisers we're doing. There's a donate button on top. We don't know if it's working, so just if you could do me a favor, tap on it, put $150 in, hit enter, and it'll help me test the button.
Oh, well, before you go, I just want to let you know, a comment came flying in, and I'm going to jump back into the buy box here. But Lisa said if you want a box, she says she'll promise to take it easy on you. So
no, she didn't. Did she say that?
So we can do that. I say we put it together.
Here's what we can do. We can box on Zoom. I'll do that with her. That's about it.
We'll put it together. We'll do it for charity. She's actually, her reserve station, I believe, is in Jersey. So we could put this together. We could make it happen.
Kill me.
But it'll be for a good cause.
You gonna referee?
I mean, I might even fly in for this. I'll be the host. I'll be like the Joe Rogan of the show.
But let's work together on a show. Let's do a show, a fundraiser, comedy night somewhere after this is all over.
Absolutely. You got it, my friend. Thank you, John, for coming on. Let's have you on real soon. Let's chat offline about doing a show. I'm all in on that. We can get everybody in. We'll get vets, first responders. I love this. Let's do it.
That would be great.
Thanks, my friend. Thank you for coming on. Have yourself a great weekend and be safe.
Can I be on again tomorrow?
Sure. Come on. We have a soprano on tomorrow. So, hey, come join us.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks for everything.
All right, thanks. I'll talk to you soon. There we have it. Our first veteran and first responder show. And damn it, that was a great show. I absolutely love having veterans on to talk about what we talk about and putting it out there as a vibe for the world so you guys can understand what's going on and get down and get to the point of what's really going on when it comes to the veteran community and how simply amazing the veteran community is and our first responders. I want to thank all of our guests today, Jennifer Marshall, Lisa Bodenburg, Rod Rodriguez, and John Larocchia for coming on the show and sharing their organizations. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, scroll down and all the information that you're looking for to connect with these folks will be there. I'm Eric. Oh, wait a minute. Before we go, you know who I am. Tomorrow's show, we got a good one for you. We have Dr. John Jaquish on. We have, hold on, let me get my notes. I actually have a note here of my other guests. I know I'm not prepared. I know. Make fun of me later. It's okay. I promise I won't judge anyone that I don't know who's on the show tomorrow. We have Jeanette. Oh my God. See, I have another Carbolo. I screwed that name up. Jeanette's going to be on the show with us. And then our big guest for tomorrow is a Sopranos actor. I can't wait. I get excited. I'm giddy. I've watched The Sopranos probably one too many times in my life. I'm going to binge watch it again now. But we have Joseph Ganascoli on the show. Ganascoli. See, I'm Italian, and I'm not Italian, and I screwed this up. But he's going to be on the show. He was a Sopranos actor for several seasons. We're going to talk about The Sopranos, talk about what he's doing now, and just have a good time with him. It's going to be a longer interview, so only 3 guests tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, and catch us on To the Point, where we'll be interviewing Soprano. Dr. John Jaskowitz is going to be on, and then we're going to be Jeanette Carpel on, and we're going to have a great show. So I'm Eric Mitchell. I want you to be safe, be strong, be smart, and God bless America.